welcome back, Loony listeners. This is episode 23 of Into the Night, a Moon Knight podcast. We are in 2018. I'm one of your hosts, Ray.
And I'm your other host, Connor. And this week we are covering the long-awaited to be reviewed on this podcast, Moon Knight 190, as well as a bevy of articles to keep you guys entertained for this episode. So sit back, relax, pull your issues out, and get your Khonshu on.
Happy New Year, Connor. Happy 2018.
Yes, happy 2018, and I hope every Loony listener has had a great, Christmas holidays or whatever sort of holidays you want to celebrate. And I hope, if you're lucky enough, those holidays are still ongoing for you at the moment.
Oh yeah, I'd love to be still on holidays, but I had a great break anyway. And we're back refreshed and raring to go. I can't wait to get into this, Connor. This is timely because it is the latest issue of Moon Knight, Volume 9, that we're going to be reviewing this episode. So we've got a lot to talk about on it, don't we?
That's for sure. This issue has kicked up, quite a storm on the internet. Very, very divisive. A lot of pros, a lot of cons from varying people. So it'll be interesting to crack into that. And we've got plenty of listener feedback as well to get plenty of takes on this hot issue.
Yeah, I can't wait to get into the Loony feedback. We got quite a lot, and it's it's really interesting to get people's thoughts. Also, it'll be interesting to hear your thoughts, Connor, as well. I know that we've had a little chat ourselves of what we thought of the issue 190. I've listened to a few podcasts as well. I've heard their take on what they thought of 190. So it certainly is an issue that has been kind of singled out so far in the 3-issue run for the latest Moon Knight as something that will divide the fans. But before we get into that, all exciting stuff, Connor, I mean, I should ask as well. Like, how was your break? How was the your Christmas and New Year break?
Yes, they were absolutely fantastic. Plenty of relaxing, plenty of hanging out with the fam, plenty of comics, all that good stuff. What about yourself, Ray?
Yeah, it was really good. A perfect opportunity to catch up on like old runs or classic runs, as well as I had a little bit of a pile on my the current comic stuff, so was able to kind of to go through that as well. So yeah, a lot of reading. So very happy with that. I dabbled in tried to dabble in a bit of drawing as well. Obviously I was getting a little bored on the holidays, but I thought I'd give it a go because why not? It's a bit of fun. So I went to the library, got some really good books actually on how to draw comics. There was one by Brian Hitch. Are you familiar with him, Connor?
Yes, I am. Actually,
yeah.
Wow.
I wasn't. I actually didn't know him. But his art speaks for himself, and he has got a really good book on just stuff like laying out your comics, the human figure movement, clothing. It's quite interesting actually, and it, I guess, it makes you appreciate how skilled these masters, like these artists, are that in the comics that we read. They produce them month in, month out, and they make it look effortless. But we always take for granted as well. We might just skim through a panel and not realize, I guess, or not be aware of how much time went into it. It was really good to kind of get a behind the scenes kind of look from that point of view. So trying to sketch throughout this year, kind of. That's one of the New Year's resolutions, if you can call it a resolution. Did you set yourself any goals, any comic related goals?
I dabble in a bit of comic reviewing, so I'm hoping to get better at that. And as someone who has seen Ray's sketches, they are already quite brilliant, so it's exciting to see them evolve over the year, and I'm hoping we'll be posting some Moony ones up on our Facebook group, Into the Night, a Moon Knight fan base. Bit of
Yeah.
a plug.
Oh yeah, no,
Plugging
yeah, thanks for that, Connor, as well. I mean, you're too kind. It's still a long way. I'd like to see, hopefully, if I keep at it, what day 364 and 5 will give. But yeah, keen to post up on our Facebook page, Into the Night. And also, yeah, throw it out there to all the other Loonies as well. I know some of the Loonies have posted their have posted their art up on the page, and it's really fun to see and really good. So it's a nice, encouraging community, and there's a lot of talent on board as well. So yeah, I'm going to try and do some post some up when I can, and yeah, Loonies out there, please send yours in as well. Right. Also, as well, I've got a little thing on the notes here, Connor, as well. Like we always kind of ask, what else have we been reading, like over the break and stuff. I thought I'd put it to you as to, let's just say this week, what would your pick be, like issue wise, or what you're reading at the moment?
So I have sneakily read ahead a press review copy of Bloodshot Salvation by Moon Knight alumni Jeff Lemire, and that issue really consolidated this new sort of a new part of Jeff Lemire's saga. Is just like one of my favorites going at the moment. It's so tense, so dramatic, so violent and icky. It's just got all the good stuff for Bloodshot, and just so much incredible and emotional Lemire writing that just get to the core of a character and their emotions, and just break your little old heart.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's been an awesome run at the moment, and that's from Valiant Comics. For Loonies out there not familiar, Bloodshot's one of the I guess the core books from that publisher. Really cool, and if you're aware of Jeff Lemire, obviously, his quality is right up there. So yeah, awesome. I can't wait. That's coming out this week, so I'm looking forward to that. I'll have to. I can't deny. It's another Valiant comic for my pick of the week. And I'd give it to Secret Weapons. This was last week, sorry, mind you.
Yeah!
Secret Weapons 0, which was the origin of Nicky French, one of the Secret Weapons. And that was just so good. I think that kind of sums up everything that a good comic book or great comic book should be. And I'm just amazed that Eric Heisserer is still kind of relatively new as a writer in comics, but he just nails it, and the art is brilliant as well. I can't speak enough of that. But yeah, Secret Weapons 0 is a big is a big thumbs up from me. And yeah, you read that as well, Connor?
Yep, absolutely adored it. That miniseries was definitely a top 5 for last year. So if you guys just want a great sort of, superhero teen sort of, just plenty of action, plenty of good feelings, just search out Secret Weapons. You will not be disappointed.
Yeah.
Also, just beautiful art in every way, especially the colors.
Yeah, the colors.
Just bring it all to life.
Exactly, and the layouts as well. It was very well thought out. I thought here for Secret Weapon 0, and yeah, and I think they're going to continue with other origins of like the other characters as well. So looking forward to that. And yeah, the voices that Eric Heisserer gives to the characters, I think, are very well developed, like very well rounded out and distinct for each of them. So. In contrast to some of the comments coming up with Moon Knight, but yeah. So Secret Weapon 0 is great. All right, Connor, shall we have a little dabble into the news as to what has been out, I guess, in the world of Moon Knight?
Why not? Let's crack on with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I guess first we have no particular order here. One of the things was someone did some computer generation of what Jake Gyllenhaal would look if he were Moon Knight in his costume, and this was a bit of fun. I mean, obviously it's just a bit of fan fun here, but Boss Logic, on Twitter, he posted this up and he said worked on a Jake Gyllenhaal Moon Knight. and I hear rumors of a movie, but I'd much rather a series for this dude. And yeah, 2 pictures here, Connor. What do you reckon? Do you reckon it suits him?
Well, first of all, just about Boss Logic, I'm sure quite a few have heard of him. He does a lot of this stuff. This is sort of his main push, sort of these, I suppose you say photo-generated, like sort of makeups that, get posted online, then posted to something else, and people all of a sudden think it's a real poster. So,
right.
Because he's quite great at making them. But I love what he's done here, but I also think it... as great a picture as it is, it does sort of stress, what we're saying about Moon Knight's costume definitely needing, like, the shelvy take or a bit of a Netflixified look, because it's just kind of... You just almost couldn't see a character like that suit brought to life running around on screen, like, now in sort of 2017.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, it is very evocative what Boss Logic did, and I was actually unaware of what... Boss Logic did, but yeah, I'd have to agree. It's very evocative, but the like if you look at the cape and the hood, it's a very idealized way of how it sits. I reckon in reality, in the TV show or the movie, if this was a costume, it wouldn't kind of sit as perfectly as that. And it we're talking about sags here and there, and it's actually quite difficult, I guess, to maintain a hood like what Moon Knight has. I'm sure the costume departments could do wonders to kind of strengthen the edges to maintain that kind of. He's got that little dip at the front, right, which kind of was synonymous with Houston and Finch's run. But yeah, maintaining that kind of hooded shape. Had you ever watched? Did you watch Assassin's Creed, Connor? With Fassbender.
No, I didn't see the movie, actually. I have played the games.
Oh, okay. Because I'm just wondering how... because that's a hooded character, right? I was wondering how he looked in the movies. Because if he can pull it off, then I'm sure Moon Knight can pull it off. But I'd agree with you. I think the Shelby costume would probably be the way to go, which you can't really get a sense of here anyway. This is kind of like just a head-to-chest shot. But, yeah. Interesting. Yeah, what have we got next here, Connor?
Well, something that's always made a buzz on the internet and something we've all craved. Last year, Greg Smallwood put up a little sort of fun concept art for a Midnight Sun series, if he could ever do one. It made the rounds plenty of times, and we were all in love with it and all very much want it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, just before the end of 2017, Greg Smallwood decided to drop us a little treat and gave us an updated look at what he'd want this Midnight Suns crew to look like. So very similar to the look of the first image we saw, just with some more added characters. We've now got the Punisher in there.
Mm-hmm. Looking really
Doctor
badass.
Strange, I believe, was new there.
Yep. And then you got Damien Hellstrom, Moon Knight and Blade, who were there before, right? And Ghost Rider.
Yes. I'll pull up the original, actually.
Yeah. And there's this that character Hannibal. Was it Hannibal King or something? I'm still unaware where he kind of hails from, but yeah, this is exciting, and it has been kind of around for a bit. And one of our guest narrators actually on the podcast today, Daniel, who keeps, speaks to Greg Smallwood and stuff, says that Smallwood has consistently been trying to get this off the ground, and so he sent this as well, which is really cool. He sent all those individual shots as well, didn't he, Connor? Which was really really good as well. I'm not sure. Woi.
Well,
are you okay? Oh no.
Yes. So anyway, apart from that, a cat's now entered the room. I was just saying as well, we got plenty of character profiles as well for all these, including another character who isn't actually in the poster, Jennifer Kawel.
Yeah, she's like a sorceress or something. But this is really exciting because Smallwood has obviously been working on this continuously and trying to get it out there. And you have Doctor Strange's latest writer, Donny Cates. He's kind of all on board as well, and his presence on Twitter is quite pronounced. Like from what I see, he's quite active on Twitter, and he showed some interest in this. And to have those two together, Connor, I think would be brilliant.
Oh, absolutely. I think no one in the Moon Knight fandom doesn't want this series to happen. It's just gorgeous. Smallwood gives it such that detailed flair. I think that's his own colours on it as well, which is so evocative, and this perfect supernatural blend. And Donny Cates has definitely proven himself on the Doctor Strange title, and
absolutely.
He'll be taking on Damnation as well, which will feature plenty of these characters to show just how good he'd be on this title. So I think it's a surefire win if Marvel ever wants it published. I'm not sure why they're just sitting on it.
Yeah, and I think a little bit of a smart move here by Smallwood to introduce the Punisher. Get on that Netflix Punisher success train, and rightly so. I mean, that's been a great series, so why not include him? And he's quite well suited to these essentially mystical but street level kind of characters, except for Strange, of course. But and Ghost Rider, but you know what I mean. Yeah. So very exciting stuff. I think. Let's just cross our fingers and hopefully something will turn up. Which also, this reminds me, Connor. I was listening to a podcast today, and it was announced. I think it must have been announced in the new year or just before New Year. But did you hear about the creative team for Shadow Man on Valiant Comics?
Yeah, that was. Oh, I forgot the name. It's Andy Diggle, and an artist who sadly isn't Greg Smallwood. As much as his preview of his art does look fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was Smallwood.
No, it's a completely different artist.
Oh, okay. Because on the podcast I was listening to, they were saying that it was Smallwood, and I was thinking, oh wow, Ripper, that's really good. Oh, okay. Oh, we might have to just double check that. Whilst you do that, Connor, I'm going to keep these loonies entertained, and I will move on to our next article, which was one from Star 2, and it's one that we can never always fully escape. Well, Moon Knight can't escape, and it's a comparison again to Batman. So I'm just pulling this up now. It's slightly slow, the internet. There we go. And this is, I think this is look, nothing new in this article here, Loonies, but it's basically a real rundown just of Moon Knight, the character as a whole. So if you're new to Moon Knight and you want to kind of get a sense of what he is, then just check out this article. I'm sure many of the Loonies are well versed in Moon Knight's history, but it does go through it all. It goes through basically, it looks like it goes through all the volumes. It goes through Bendis and Ellis as well towards the end. So it's just a bit of an interesting read. Not essential if you know your Moon Knight stuff. And look, they misspelt Khonshu as well. So, it is a nice little summary. But if you're a big fan, then it's probably nothing that you haven't heard before.
Yeah, it's kind of like an advertisement for new readers. But it does, of course, have those dirty words. Marvel's answer to Batman in its title being Moon Knight, Marvel's answer to Batman. It's 2018.
It's 2018.
And we're starting it off by still getting those comparisons. Obviously, the writer doesn't mean anything buying it. He's just using that as a selling point, but
to draw people in.
Can't escape it.
You cannot escape it, which is bloody terrible. Oh, sorry. I've just got to turn something on. Awesome. Yeah, so did you manage to dig that info up, Connor?
Yes, it is Valiant mainstay for a while. Steven Segovia, I believe that's how you pronounce it. Will be the artist on this, who is a great artist. But,
he's pretty good.
Yeah, sadly it seems that Smallwood's just doing promotional art or possibly covers.
Okay.
Although, Valiant's small arcs with artists could possibly mean that Smallwood may take over for a couple of issues or something. We just don't know. But at least for the first arc, sadly, no Smallwood.
Yeah, no Smallwood, but
Despite the incredible teaser we got last year.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll be happy with covers for the time being, and Segovia's no slouch as well. So that's pretty cool. It just goes to show, Loonies, that's what you get for listening to believing podcasts. I was listening to it and they told me something else. So anyway, that's pretty cool. We've also got just a few more other articles here. I'm sorry, Connor, I'm just raring to crack into this issue. But I just want to kind of tick off these things. Which actually this is quite good. One of the articles here from IGN was the 19 most anticipated comics of 2018, and one of them is I believe it's Damnation.
Yes, Doctor Strange's Damnation.
Yeah, which should be an awesome ride. I actually just saw on Twitter, Connor, on the way home today, Donny Cates. Oh, actually, no, Rebecca, I think, our third identity. She posted up that Donny Cates had. He tweeted something saying, "This is the music that I'm listening to while I'm writing Damnation," and he said, if anyone familiar with metal happening in DC, let it be known that Damnation is going to be, heavily metal laden as well. So I'm getting quite excited by Damnation coming up just around the corner, and what it will bring to the mystical corner of the Marvel universe. I think it'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, I've said it before, but I'm just hoping like the cosmic annihilation or whatever kickstarted it. I hope it was Annihilation. Or it might be Conquest. Kind of get mixed around. But yeah, just sort of how hopefully this event will be a new kickoff, sort of new status quos and new changes in the supernatural. But I'm also just so looking forward to it as a nice sort of contain, some tie-ins, but, just a nice, strong 5-issue event that's just going to be, I think, pretty crazy, full of powerful and violent characters, and just going to be, I think, just good old supernatural action to the max. And I do love metal. Let that be known. And plus, that means that hopefully Donny Cates will create a accompanying playlist for the event, which is always fun.
Yeah, it's always fun. Marvel used to do that. I haven't checked Spotify lately, but they used to do. They used to ask artists. I think it was more artists to provide playlists to the books that they're working on. I don't believe they've done it recently, but that would be really cool. I've also really liked Jeff Lemire. Did one for his Royal City on Image Books, and he still does. I think for each issue, Connor.
Yeah, every issue a new playlist.
Yeah, which is so cool because there's nothing better than having a bit of a soundtrack to a comic book that you're reading. And you're right, Connor. It is more of a supernatural angle, not a mystical, but it's the supernatural corner of the Marvel universe. Be excited to see how it expands. So with that article, there are a few other titles in there. Just in case you're interested, I guess it's Dan Slott's Amazing Spider-Man finale. People are looking forward to that. That's out in March. As I quickly flick around, here's one that I really like, X-Men Red as well. I'm pretty keen to see that.
So looking forward to that. Tom Taylor's all-new Wolverine has been great, and
he's
exciting to see him tackling more characters from the X-Men universe.
Yeah, but also other non-Marvel things. I see your Flash War. Are you into the Flash, Connor?
I wouldn't say I'm not into it, but I certainly am not doing well at keeping up.
Right, yeah, fair enough. Yeah, it's kind of me. I do like Flash as a character, but I haven't exactly been following him. So that was that article. What have we got next article, Connor?
For our next article, we have a fun little just sort of celebration of all things comic book art with
Mm-hmm.
sci-fi's
Yep.
top 30 comic book artists of 2017, and on it we have, of course, the resounding, coming in at number 12, although I don't think the list is totally ordered, maybe, Greg
No.
Smallwood, the absolute superstar. He's had a
Yeah.
great year. He finished off with the final 2 mind-blowing issues of Jeff Lemire's Moon Knight. Sorry about that.
Mhm.
He's been running around doing great issues of single issues of Amazing Spider-Man, the Drax Guardian of the Galaxy issue,
Yep.
doing plenty of covers,
Mhm.
variants.
Oh, he's been
It
great.
seems
He's
like
been
he's got,
consistently
plenty of
great.
plans.
Yeah. And it's great because of someone of his caliber, he gets to pick and choose what project he wants. So I guess that's a dream position for any artist to be in, because you always, obviously, initially you have to get your foot in the door, but you've kind of made yourself into quite a comfortable position when you can actually pick and choose what projects you want to do. There are, like, Raoul Allen, who does Secret Weapons. I think he's awesome. He's on this list as well. There are just a heap of really good artists at the moment. I like a lot of Valiant artists, Connor. I mean, Tomas Giorello, I think, is a absolutely fantastic artist. You got your Luis LaRosa as well. He's consistently good, and I do like my boy as well, Miko Suyan, who's hails from the Philippines. I know there are a couple of Filipino Loonies out there, so shout out to you guys. But yeah, there's Greg Smallwood's in good company here, in this top 30 list, and it's a big list, but it's I think it's pretty well covered. Joelle Jones, she comes at number 9, and I love her art. She did a really good issue of Scarlet Witch, and it was just fantastic. Yeah, alrighty. So we've got just one more article to go through, which had some connection to Moon Knight. And this was 10 superhero artists to watch in 2018. And this was published by comicbook.com. And we've got 10 or so artists here. There we go, Joelle Jones again. Someone to look out for. Sarah Pichelli, fantastic artist on Spider-Man. I'm not sure what she's doing now. She might still be doing that, Connor. Possibly.
No,
Maybe.
that finished a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, okay. Well, she's fantastic. I love her stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Erica Henderson, the Squirrel Girl, Christian Ward. How can we not mention him? He's fantastic. Doing great things. It's kind of really resurrected Black Bolt. Then you got Gabriel Hernandez Walter, as well. Who for me was I don't know how long he's been out, but was a breakout with the Vision, which was really cool.
And now doing great on Kate's Doctor Strange.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I thought I saw Walter around, and did really good work with Occupy Avengers as well, just previously before that.
Oh yeah,
which was pretty cool. And again, just our Moon Knight alumni Greg Smallwood. Again, is an artist to look out for this year. So he's had a bumper 2017, and looks like he's got a big year this year as well, Connor. So plenty of good stuff for those that have worked on Moon Knight.
Yeah, well, I was just coming off the back of the top 30 best comic book artists of 2017. Here I was thinking, next year we'll probably be seeing Jason Burrows on that list, hopefully.
Oh, yeah.
And I was hoping, seeing that article next, he'd be on the top 10 superhero artists to watch out for in 2018, because I definitely believe he is.
Oh, yeah. He's,
Sadly, he wasn't there. Greg Smallwood, always deserving, though.
Always deserving, yeah. But I'm sure Burrows will get accolades. We'll see. He's still very relatively new, 2018, and he's cutting his teeth on Moon Knight, so he's got a great platform to show his wares, and he has so far. But yeah, only 3 issues in, so we'll give him time. I'm sure he'll definitely make his presence known. But it's all good. So, I mean, those were the articles we found, Loonies, over the last couple of weeks. Nothing too, Connor and I were always on the lookout for, in particular, possible TV or movie rumors, but that's kind of been pretty quiet. But it's good to see some of the Moon Knight alumni doing well. Onward and upward after Moon Knight. Right.
That is 100% for sure, but I think it's time we go over the moon. For the real showpiece of this issue, of this episode, we are cracking onto now the as I said before, the long-awaited to be talked about, and just heating up the chat rooms and the group of the Internight and Moon Knight fan base is issue 190, with once again returning our man on the street, fellow Loony, and Ben Eric of the show,
Yes.
Tommy Lemire Kawel, to take it away with his bare bones of Moon Knight 190.
Well, actually, Connor, that's funny. Just before we get into that, I was about, like, we didn't discuss this Loonies, but I was about to make that same joke as well. I was about to say, you beat me to it. I was about to say, hang on, Connor, I have a conspiracy theory, and I believe that there is no such person as Tommy Cavell. I reckon that, I reckon that's a catfish thing. All those pictures, it's not Tommy Cavell, it is actually Jeff Lemire, because, as Connor, you've alluded, Tommy/Jeff's writing for the Bare Bones has been phenomenal. So, yeah, we're so glad to have him again. But before we say that as well, added to that is Tommy/Jeff is not actually narrating it. We actually have two guest narrators, fantastic friends of the show, and great podcasters in their own right. We've got Daniel and Joe from Geek Street Podcast. So these guys, I've been wanting to get these guys on for a long time. So absolutely stoked that they've agreed to give us the bare bones. So we got kind of like
absolute just to say absolute superstars.
Yeah,
they've got their own great podcast, and they've been part of this sort of Into the Night back when it was just a Moon Knight Facebook page.
Yeah, Daniel
group. Yeah,
exactly. Daniel's a huge Moon Knight fan, and these guys also, they love their DC stuff. But buckle in, Loonies. We've got a good 15 minutes of the bare bones. Take it away.
Hey, Loony listeners, what's up? This is Daniel.
And I'm Joe.
From Geek Street Podcast, we're going to do the bare bones from Moon Knight 190, Crazy Runs in the Family, Part 3. As most of you know, this is written by Max Bemis, penciled by Jason Burrows, inked by Guillermo Ortega? Ortega?
That sounds good.
Yeah,
Ortega.
I like that. And then Matt Lopez is on the colors. So, let's just dive into the bare bones of this issue.
Let's do it. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
We open with a summary of Mark Spector's recent history and issues 188 through 189. Spector has at last achieved some degree of control over his multiple personalities. Well, he thought he had, until a villain who called himself the Truth looked into Jake Lockley's thoughts and saw a secret he kept hidden from Mark.
Oh no.
After piercing the Truth with 2 crescent darts to the eyes, Jake merely rendered the Truth unconscious before Mark could learn what he saw. But secrets aren't the only cloud hanging over Moon Knight's head. An escaped mental patient with power over fire and a perceived connection with the Egyptian god Ra is coming for Moon Knight, and he's enlisted the help of Mark's old nemesis, Bushman.
We cut to 4 landscape panels of pure action. Action. 4. Not 4, but from the Sun King's past. In 1, Rome is in flames, and 1st century patrician. What is a patrician?
A very wealthy person from those days.
Oh, see, I don't know words that I don't know what they mean, so. Anyway, a patrician falls underneath the blade of a white-clad assassin. In the 2nd cut of the White Knight preparing to plunge his spear into the back of an orange-clad prince. The third panel, jump to the Wild West as a masked vigilante blows smoke from his revolver.
A rival duelist.
Yeah, this is a pain in the
Which,
dick.
by the way, I loved this panel. I thought this was a great.
Yeah, this was good. A rival duelist lies dead in the street. The fourth, a Crescent Dawn agent, flanked by GIs held hostage. The suicidal Sun Crest leader of a Hydra unit. It's hard to miss. The war between the Sun King and Moon Knight has lasted for centuries. The war between Ra and Khonshu has been fought since the gods themselves walked the earth. We learn that the Sun King has been narrating, speaking to a crowd of Moon Knight's victims under the leadership of Bushmen. We don't know who these men are, but they are clearly an audience. Sun King is ready to end the cycle of failure of Ra's avatars. Now, blessed by fire himself, Sun King isn't like the failed avatars of past. Ra himself speaks through Sun King's fire. Bushman, a bit unsure of himself, rouses the troops. He admits to those gathered he is no longer the fierce mercenary who left Spectre to die at the foot of Khonshu's statue. All he is now is a crack dealer. Y'all got any more of that crack? Out of his prime.
Chappelle Show.
Yeah, that was good. He's scared. He's terrified of Mark Spector, but Bushman has an ace up his sleeve. He knows Moon Knight, and he knows his weakness. Too cowardly to act on his own. If backed by the men gathered, Bushman tells the crowd that Sun King can use this weakness to finally defeat Moon Knight and exact revenge. Moon Knight will never take a piece of these men again. The men cheer.
That was good.
Thank you. There's dozens gathered in a warehouse. Most of them look like goons and hired thugs, armed to the teeth with blades and assault weapons. But no one special. No one like me or you, Joe. Yet, one wheelchair-bound merc, actually there is one like us, up front oddly looks like Mark. Is that? No, not a chance. Randall is dead. And another hooded figure in the back has shaded eyes. Almost as if he didn't want you to see them. He's smiling, not cheering. No, he can't be.
I missed some of those details when I read it. That's interesting.
Yeah,
Good catches on that.
yeah.
We're thrown into a cosmic boxing ring. Mark lands a gnarly left hook on Jake Lockley.
Hit him with the left, Rock. Hit him with the left.
Jake's blood has already painted the mat. No, this is Mark's mind, where Stephen Grant grabs the ropes like a concerned skipper, and Khonshu watches pensively and casually breaks the fourth wall. Mark and Jake trade insults within the irregular panels. We switch to the inside of a synagogue, and then a cliffside. Mark high kicks Jake into the depths as Khonshu's cloaked statue looks on. Finally, the two are placed within mighty stone pillars. A pyramid dominates the background. A massive chain floats in the hazy sunrise heavens above. The two trade insults and plan their next moves. Mark accuses Jake of hiding something from Mark. Spectre is clueless to the truth. We move to a pleasant scene in an urban park. Mark is meditating. An aged woman walks her dog behind him. Mark blurts out Jake and Mark's dialogue. They're fighting in his mind. The woman books it. We cut back to the Egyptian mindscape. Stephen tries to quell the fight, but Khonshu calms him like a father speaking to his child.
Oh, that's sweet. Good old Khonshu.
All the while, a massive Eye of Horus has replaced the sky chain seen only moments earlier. Mark slices Jake with a massive crescent blade, and Jake relents for a moment. He reasons with Mark. He says that Stephen is the benefactor. Khonshu is their connection to the bigger picture. Jake deals with the leftovers, but Mark is the voice of reason. After all, Mark built the personas this way. Mark and Jake cease their fighting and converse. Jake insists Mark trust him. Mark relents. Stephen and Khonshu embrace.
An orange-tinted sky makes the suburbs glow. Sun King knocks on a door. Marlene answers. Sun King poses as a charity officer out collecting donations for a joint disaster relief fund. He compliments Marlene on her name and smiles like a hippie messiah of issue 188. Marlene doesn't bite on his compliment, but trusts him to wait at the door as she grabs her checkbook. So he does. Is Marlene Mark's weakness? As Marlene returns to the door, check in hand, Sun King bleeds off the pages of the final panel, eyes aflame as he screams, "Now! Now! Now! Now!"
I'll have what he's having.
And I'm spent. Bushman and crew enter the home as Sun King shows a framed photo of the former mercenary. Bushman seems pleasantly surprised. Marlene is ready to fight back. She hints that she's protecting something or someone. Bushman tempted Marlene to call Moon Knight.
Again, we change scenes. Moon Knight is embroiled in a warehouse fight with some of the same goons addressed by Sun King only pages earlier. Khonshu narrates, speaking to us, and tells us of Mark's inability for proper socialization. Mark is too busy kung-fuing societal detritus, and here Khonshu tells us that he is fighting disabled gentlemen. But Moon Knight talks back to Khonshu. He tells Khonshu to stop. Khonshu's comments are too dark, even for Moon Knight.
Mark's cell phone rings. Khonshu pleads with Mark to avoid the call. Mark is a danger to Marlene. He picks up anyway. The succeeding panel cuts between Marlene, Mark, and Sun King. Marlene tells Mark that she misses him and there is something special. Or they were something special. Marlene seems tempted to warn Mark of the intruders in her home, but Sun King whispers a threat over her shoulder. Mark zooms to Marlene's in his crescent-shaped moon copter. It's like the bat plane.
A flashback. A serene scene. Mark and Marlene are floating in a dinghy through pleasant waters. Marlene admits her attraction as Mark picks up in media res, explaining his history to Marlene. Marlene's questions give us a review of Mark's past. We learn that Mark was a mercenary. Mark's brother killed Mark's girlfriend. Mark killed his brother with a grenade. Mark fought in an illegal boxing match, or plural, illegal boxing matches. Marlene is enthralled. She's committed to him.
This Mark guy's a crazy cat. You know, I don't know if people know this, but Moon Knight's pretty crazy.
Yeah, but he's interesting.
Yeah, the most interesting man in the world. Back at Marlene's, Mark is at the door, dressed to the nines and flowers in hand. Bushman hides on the stairs, with his finger holding back his men. Marlene seems distracted, but Mark is just happy to be with her. In her home, no less. But then Mark sees Sun King. Sun King introduces himself as Barry. Mark throws a BG insult at him.
Beautiful.
Yep, staying alive. Sun King dominates the dialogue. Marlene is silent, sad. Barry tells Mark that he and Marlene are in a relationship. Not only that, Barry knows that Mark is Moon Knight. All the same, Mark clutches a sharpened crescent dart below the table. Blood drips down the arc. Sun King lies to Mark and says that he has slept with Marlene. But there's more.
That made me think of
The Barry Gibbs Talk Show. Talking it up on the Barry Gibbs Talk Show.
such a good sketch.
We got crazy cool medallions and crescent darts.
Justin Timberlake.
Yeah,
Back to Moon Knight.
back to Moon Knight.
As Sun King's eyes flick with flame, he insinuates that Jake Lockley too has been with Marlene. Khonshu warns Mark to drop it. Turn back now. Suddenly in Mark's mind, a giant vampiric Mark, dressed as Moon Knight, stands over Jake, looking for blood. Marlene breaks down. She admits her relationship with Jake. Lacking any contact with Mark, Marlene turned to Jake Lockley like a drug. She craved a partner, but Jake could never replace Mark. Regardless, the deed had been done. As Mark embraces Marlene, a voice off-panel cries in pain. Turn to the page. A little girl stands in tears, Bushman holding her in place. The girl takes one look at Mark and asks, "Uncle Jake, what are you doing here?" Marlene is crying, looking for a response from Mark, but Mark's face is obscured. Who can say what his face shows, what he feels as he looks upon the teary-eyed girl with mismatched socks? Well, we know he feels one thing, a desire to protect the innocent of the night. Sun King, Bushman, they won't escape justice. They won't escape the vengeance of the Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Swear to me!
Yeah. Oh, Mark Spector. Your Bane is better. Anyway, we hope that was as much of a struggle for you guys as it was for us. We really enjoyed jumping on here.
Yeah, it was fun to talk about Moon Knight.
Yeah, I mean,
The last couple issues have been a lot of fun. Too.
yeah, these guys know what they're doing.
Max
so
Bemis, Jason Burrows having a good run.
yeah, we greatly appreciate you guys letting us on, and keep on being loony, guys.
So, thank you, Geek Street Podcast, for that epic rendition. And a big thank you again to our man on the streets, Tommy Lemire Kawel. Connor, my gosh, that was an epic retelling. Again, it was like an audiobook.
Once again, just as epic as and funny
Yeah,
as you could possibly want.
exactly. I love it how the guys give it their own touch. So, yeah, thanks Daniel for slipping in Bane there as well. I really do like the impersonation. Anyway, Connor, as always, okay, this is a big one. But what would your, takeaway? What would your takeaway impression be of this issue 190?
A whiplash, I think, was the first thing. So I was sort of almost in a state of shock, almost entirely reading the this issue and just how sort of different it became from the two issues before it, and just how many new directions Bemis peered off of. And it definitely took me a second reading to calm my thoughts, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a lot to dissect, as we've made abundantly clear. But I think it's definitely an issue of pros and cons. I think there's a lot of really solid ideas that Bemis has put in place in this issue, but I feel that some of them didn't quite have the execution to pull through and make this issue as enjoyable as it could have possibly been, and I don't think it's as strong as the two issues before it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I first time I read this, I was a little disappointed in this issue. I'll say only because, and I think you've touched upon many of the points there already, but I guess it's distilled to one thing, and I think it's the fact that it is such a different book in tone than the first two. So it kind of left me a bit confused, because if we were to look at the first issue, that really, to me, that is a tone setter. It sets it, and not having Moon Knight there, and building this story for Patient 86. And then in issue 2, you do get the introduction of Moon Knight, so you start to see him in this environment, and the introduction of the truth as well. All very kind of serious stuff. A bit of humor interjected as well. With this issue 190, I felt it was, there were a lot of ideas put in there, which is and some of them we'll get to as well. Fantastic, some twists. But I felt it was just riddled with these ideas, and potentially needless ones as well. So I've since read it again, and yeah, I still have the same feeling. I guess I'm not a fan of this kind of way that Moonlight has been steered towards, but it's still early days. So yeah, I guess kind of what we usually do, for those who are listening to us for the first time, we'll give 4 main aspects about the book, and we'll discuss them. Any particular notes or any things that stand out to us, and that will be followed by some crescent dart ratings. So with this such a big issue here, Connor, like we spoke a bit off air first, that we're just going to do this on the fly for aspects. Can I have your one then? What would your first aspect be for this book?
There's so many to pick from. I think I'll hit us with possibly something that's definitely been talked about, probably mostly in a negative light, is that straight from the first page we know that Khonshu has had many avatars before Mark. And so has Ra, and they've been locked in a battle over time. I mean, we've sort of always, I guess, assumed that Khonshu had more avatars before. That just makes sense for being who knows how old, but a very visceral page to introduce this concept, and a very comedic one. So yeah, what did you think about this sudden plot addition?
Yeah, this lineage thing. Yeah, look, I went back and forth with this. At the beginning, I hated it because, look, it's been done really with Black Panther, Iron Fist, Ghost Rider. This whole thing about there being some continuing lineage to it, and actually, having said that as well, I've been trying to get into a lot of Matt Wagner's Grendel, which was the first kind of Dark Horse book, which kind of does this thing. And for me, when in the 90s, that was kind of like an eye-opener. Since then, it's been done numerous times, and then to see Moon Knight have it done to Moon Knight, it's like, here we go again. On the flip side, as you say, it is totally logical, I think, that this happens. I mean, it would be, just my opinion as well, it would be silly to believe that Khonshu hasn't approached people before in the past to be the avatar of vengeance, because it does seem to be like a mantle. So there is, it makes sense that there is out there like a lineage. If you just look at the 4 of them, we've got ones, I guess, in Roman times. You got ones during the Knights, the Crusades. Then you have a Western Moon Knight. Then you have, it looks like World War I or II, a Moon Knight. And to me, the last 2 are kind of problematic in the sense that they seem to be more and more common, more and more frequent. Like, if you're going to do it, I reckon just space it out. Like, have them in the Roman times, have a 1 million BC Moon Knight, that would be pretty cool. Have, the Crusades, but we've got a modern Moon Knight, which is the 20th, 21st century. We don't need another one, like, so close to it, like with the World Wars. And then if you look at the Wild West, which is what, 1800s. It's yeah. So anyway, that was my take on it. But having said that as well, look, if it's just contained, and it is in this issue, if it's just contained and quickly explained in this one page, then I'm pretty happy with that. And as long as they don't build a whole arc or a series around it. Yeah, what do you reckon, Connor?
I definitely agree with that last statement. I'm not sure how much it'll play into the rest of the run. So
yeah.
what I definitely gathered is so this sort of 4-panel introduction to the idea of avatars before is to give viewing to the Truth's no, Sun King, sorry.
Sun Kings, yeah.
Still get those confused after all that pre-issue hype, pre-series hype, all those speculations.
Yes.
The Sun King's sort of narration about Moon Knight and sort of giving justification to why he wants to, finally take down Moon Knight, finally destroy Khonshu once and for all. And I definitely like that, and I think it sort of what I said before about execution and about that tonal whiplash is that this sort of grandiose sort of throughout entire history just sort of to me wasn't given the correct weight. It's very comedic, 2 of the panels especially are just sort of making fun of, like the Crusader one has like worst night ever, and it's a cheesy western one, and the Wild Wild West, and I think that's Bemis's own fun, enjoyable spin on it. I think that's how he wanted to present it, but it just. Yeah, I just suppose going from the previous 2 issues, starting out like that, it just didn't quite sit right immediately. And I certainly, especially with what you said there and just rereading it, it definitely sort of sits better with me. But even still, it just doesn't feel entirely executed how I wanted it, which is very subjective.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, I mean, we all have our taste, and there's, there are, merits to each and all of them as well. Like you say as well, the voicings, and we'll get to that a bit later. That was one of the main things that put me off as well. Like, even the very first panel in the Roman times, you have the Roman Moon Knight speaking as if, look, it's like that, don't you? You're Patricia. Like, it's speaking very modern, so it kind of was off-putting. And as you say, the next panel of him, worst night ever. So the voicings to them really don't seem to match. And look, I understand if it's what Bemis wants to do, then of course he's a writer; he can do whatever he wants. But for me personally, it doesn't really work or really appeal to me. That sort of thing. So and look, just. Finally, just to go with what you're saying, Connor, as well, I think this was a really quick way of kind of building this eternal battle that these two face. The Sun King versus Moon Knight. But I felt it's not particularly necessary, because I think it's insinuated in the name anyway. That, like, I think you didn't have to spell out that they have fought continuously throughout the ages. For me, and we're covering also in our modern run the Resurrection War, Connor, where there is an ancient war between Khonshu and Set, so it's dark versus light. And what Munch does there is, I think, sufficient. He mentions that it's an ancient battle and it's an eternal struggle, and he kind of leaves it as that. And for me, the takeaway from that is that, okay, these guys are mortal enemies. They've been around the block, forever. I don't really kind of, need it spelled out to me, like, in these different eras they're fighting. So yeah, I found this first page. They could have actually done without it, I reckon. So yeah, that's what I thought. But the art is great. So we'll go from there.
Yeah, so I suppose with that closing off, where do you want to kick off your first aspect?
Yeah, okay. So the other main, I guess, first aspect of this issue, and I'm just going through it now, would be the conflict between Mark and Jake Lockley, which is what this whole issue is kind of centered around. So Bemis has kind of set up that Jake Lockley is, the darker aspect of Mark's identities, all the bad, grubby stuff that Mark doesn't want to deal with. He's created this identity in Jake Lockley, and Jake Lockley's, So he's basically bad to the bone. And anyway, so there's the main thing I think that runs through this book is this struggle between, in particular, Mark and Jake Lockley. And so yeah, we see them fight on the mental plane through various settings as well. And what comes of it is that there is a truce of sorts. In that, Jake says, "Look, you got to trust me. I know you don't really like me as a guy, but we're all part of the one person, and you made me for a particular reason." So he kind of reasons with Mark there, and there is a level of closure kind of midway or in the first third of the book. I think that was one of the important aspects of this issue, Connor, because it rears its ugly head towards the end of the book. Yep. You there, Connor?
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
I just sort of lost you there at the end.
Ah.
I didn't quite get your last point, sadly. I'm not sure what's going on with the internet.
Oh, okay. No, I was just basically saying that they kind of in the first third of the book they kind of make they have a truce, I guess. Jake and Mark. So these are the two identities, I think, in Mark's Mark's set of identities that seems to be the most problematic, and it rears its head at the end. This tension between Mark and Jake. This is one of the main drivers of this issue, which I thought is good. Look, I don't mind that. And it was established in the previous issue as well. I don't mind that Jake is kind of like the loose cannon and slightly more violent than Mark. It is strange because Mark is also, he is the mercenary aspect of their identity. So, he's not. He's prone to violence as well, or he's seen violence. So it's an interesting match. But no, I thought the tension between the two was a pretty good way that Bemis has used to get some sort of conflict within the mind of Mark.
100%, and I think I like. I think the main thing is I still very much like the writing of all three of these.
Mm-hmm.
I love seeing these three interact. I love the boxing and battling match inside Mark's own head. I think Mark's got such a distinct personality. Steven's and they've still set Steven up as the sort of kind, gentle side of Mark, as we saw as his best friend in the Lemire run. And I liked as well that Jake Lockley got a bit more character in this issue than just, crazy man who takes over, crazy violent person who takes over, the battling and throws crescent darts at people's eyes. Like, I didn't quite like that characterization in the last issue, but this issue sort of makes him more, still makes him very Mark Spector-like. He's still got that chill side of him. He's still got a lot of those, that bit of charisma, that street smarts, but also very seedy. And as we saw later in that issue, very seedy and still very dark, I suppose.
I think
was going to be. Ooh.
Yeah, I think that's important because look, essentially they are the same. They are the same person, so there would be and there should be similarities, as different as their identities may be. So if we look at the voicing again, I didn't mind too much that they kind of sounded similar because they are the same guy essentially. It's just these identities are being generated from the one person. So Khonshu and Stephen Grant take pretty much a back seat in this issue. They're pretty much just observers, I guess. Although Khonshu does speak to Mark during this issue as well. So yeah, the relationship between his identities, I think, was a big thing here, and as you said, Connor, was fleshed out a little bit more. Which again drives the crux of this issue towards the end. How about your next aspect, Connor?
Actually, just to finish off,
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to add. I kind of lost my point here. Let me just flick through the pages.
No worries.
No, I've lost it. Sadly,
Oh,
It's
no.
gone. It's gone into the overvoid.
Oh no.
Oh wait, yeah, no, actually, I do remember.
Mhm.
I actually really like the fact that Jake Lockley is almost like a sort of way to suppress his dark feelings. I think that's kind of a cool idea.
Yep.
I don't like how it plays out in the end of this issue, which I'll get to
Mm-hmm.
probably my next aspect. But I think it's a smart idea to begin with, and I think with that, when it comes to the latter half of this issue, I think my next point will be Marlene and the scene at her house and how we think that was handled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Basically, I think the big next aspect would be Marlene, like the introduction of her. Yeah, I mean, like this is the first time we've kind of like see her, and she has a substantial part in the book. So yeah, sorry, Connor. That was yeah. I mean, I'd agree with you with that, as in that being a major aspect of this issue.
Yeah, so I think I'll just open up.
Mm-hmm.
I think this latter half was definitely the weakest part of the issue. I like the opening scene where the Truth has that really well-written, charismatic side of...
Sun King, you mean?
So, God,
Yeah. Gotcha.
the Sun King...
Yeah.
God, Run on a Moon Knight podcast, can't even get that right. Of the Sun King from the first issue and how he sort of played... he played Dr. Emmett, sort of play with her emotions with his sort of charismatic good side. I think that was great, and I think how Marlene handled that. She seemed really cool, calm, just living her own life. But I think in the end of the issue, she really is just kind of put in a damsel in distress position. It's just... I suppose it does make sense, but it just kind of isn't the Marlene I know.
Yeah.
And... I mean, it's all about change, but it's just one of those changes that I didn't feel entirely was for the better. And I think the big bombshell of Mark's kid just doesn't feel very Marlene to me,
Okay.
especially since I don't know. I just feel like there was always more to her identity than Mark. Well, more Stephen in this case, and it sort of reduces it to that one relationship.
Yeah.
And then her relationship with Jake Lockley, who technically is a personality she doesn't even like.
Mm.
And, that sort of need for touch. Like, I kind of understand it, but it just didn't sit with me quite right. Just sort of... I kind of like the kid aspect. I think it's fun, comic booky nonsense that, kind of fits with the comedic flair that Bemis brings, that I do like. I think I'll put that across here, but it's just sort of... it's kind of comic booky nonsense, but for Marlene as a character and how we've seen her over, what would it be? Nearly 30 years of history?
Yeah.
Over 30 years of history?
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, just wasn't...
Yeah.
Yeah, just wasn't, I don't know.
It didn't
my
feel
Marlene.
like... Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Look, I like to be a little bit... I like to take it from another perspective and think that, look, this hasn't played out totally yet. Because, yeah, I mean, I've heard those comments as well about Marlene being the damsel in distress. I don't believe she totally is. I mean, at the moment, her situation where her house has been invaded by this weird guy, the Sun King, and Bushman and his thugs, I mean, you got to play it. You got to play it smart, right? She can't... And I mean, she does start to try and put up her dukes, and really defend herself. When they pick up the picture frame of what reveals to be herself and her daughter, so she's ready to fight, but I think she just and then she's obviously put in a situation where she has to call Mark and stuff. I'd like to see it play out as well. I still have hope that Marlene is not portrayed totally as a helpless person that needs saving, because you and I know as well that she in the past, she's been synonymous with actually saving Mark himself. So she's more than capable of herself. I believe there's probably something more to Marlene than this. But just at the moment in the house when she house is invaded, that she really has no option but to maybe play along. So so I have a bit of faith in that. Yeah, faith in that. Yeah, Connor. With the daughter. I think it was mentioned in one of the podcasts. I think Levin thinks serious issues mentioned every superhero is having a child now. But I do like this twist. And look, I see what's happening. Bemis is what he wants to do is that you have your physical enemies. You have Sun King and you have Bushman tackling Moon Knight. And they're tackling him emotionally as well by attacking Marlene and his daughter. But also as well, you have a mental battle within. So you have Mark battling Jake Lockley. So there's it's like almost like a love triangle there between Mark, and Marlene. In fact, it's Mark, Jake, and Marlene. So so it's quite a bit of I think a bit of smart writing there from Bemis as to whether or not and how it kind of fits like with Moon Knight. I'd agree with you, Connor, as well. The second half of the issue and the fact that Marlene slept with Jake kind of rubs me up the wrong way as well. It doesn't seem quite right, especially since we know Marlene actually, she really prefers Stephen Grant more than anyone else. So to have Mark and Jake in this love triangle is a bit strange. But yeah, it's and look, I'm interested to see what happens with the daughter. I think I hope she. It's pretty cool actually, like for Mark to have a daughter. I don't know, she's still quite young, so whether or not she'll forever remain a little girl, similar to I think Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, although she's kind of grown up a little. It's taken a while. We'll have to wait and see. But the ending was that was going to be like my final aspect. Connor, was the big twist at the end.
Sorry about that, cutting in.
Yep, sorry.
Oh, I said sorry about that, cutting in on you like that.
Oh, no worries. No, that's cool. It's there's plenty of other things here to discuss, but that's definitely one of the main bits in this issue. The big reveal at the end with the daughter. So we're kind of left with. I'm excited to see what unfolds, but overall the issue I thought was a little bit flat with stuff, and it goes beyond the four aspects that we mentioned, Connor. So I don't know. Did you want to talk about anything else in particular in this issue? I've got a couple of things. Yeah.
Well, actually, I really you made a really great comment about this being, not the end of this. These are comic books. We're both blessed and almost sort of, sometimes a hindrance of them being monthly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm definitely not writing off these past two issues, and there's still plenty I liked in this issue.
Yeah.
That makes me want to continue. And just I didn't like this issue, but I think, like I said, I still like the ideas, and I think Bemis can still very much pull it off. And we have the cover, which is a American Gothic homage,
yes,
which seems exciting. Next issue is very much going to be very symbolic of burning the house down. I think a big fight's brewing, maybe even more revelations. But yeah, for sure. But I think if we were going to just talk about, I suppose, something else before you bring up your notes, and I think I'll have a couple as well. Just Burroughs' artist just continues being amazing.
I think that's one of the defining things. I think that constantly just enjoying his stuff. If I can just point out with Burroughs, like, it's really cool how he sparingly uses his horror element, like that page where you see that vampiric mark. He draws a really hellish monster face, and so it really does impact you when you see it, because the the main, majority of the issue are these just well-drawn human characters. So yeah, Burroughs' art for sure, and again Matt Lopez with the colours, just really, really fantastic. I think he's gone for I don't know what you call it. It's less saturated, I guess, or something. It's slightly, the colours are slightly less saturated, which is a really good effect.
Yeah, they're certainly a lot brighter than the last few issues. Last 2 issues.
Yeah. Oh yes, they are. Yeah, the color palette. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but no, Burroughs' art is just fantastic. He continues to do really well. So just notes, Connor. I thought, look, the first one, and I wanted to get into it, was just the voicing. I think you touched upon it earlier on. I found uncomfortable with this issue, and what I found didn't really work was Bemis hadn't really defined the voices to me enough. I think Sun King was fine. I think I mentioned to you, Connor, as well. Bush King and Mark Spector and Jake Lockley and Khonshu and the first two, like the Roman Moon Knight and the Crusade Moon Knight, they all kind of sound the same. They all have that kind of irreverent, modern kind of lingo to them. And I just found that really kind of off-putting, especially with Bushman, because he was such a different character in the previous runs. A very scary character, and here is almost he's reduced in a way. I mean, like when he says as well that, like, I'll admit to you that Moon Knight, Mark Spector, scares the crap out of me. You would never expect someone like Bushman to say something like that. Someone who themselves is quite tough and quite hardened. I found the voicings a bit strange. What did you think, Connor?
I think you are 100% on the money, and I think harkening back to something Andrew Levin said on his podcast, Serious Issues, with Siobhan Coombs, check it out.
Yes.
Just sort of plugging that, I suppose, since I'm stealing his point. I actually think your point about voices makes me feel Bushman's kind of wasted a bit.
Yeah.
I think
that's how I feel. Yeah.
I think the revelation possibly... maybe it could have had the same impact with just the Sun King, but it just doesn't seem like Bushman achieves that much as a character here. You said that weird concept of him being scared. He's sort of more jokey, weirdo manner compared to his crazy, frantic, warlord days.
Yeah,
sort of fits very, very well into the niche that the Sun King has, as this weird resurrected god in this poor kid's body, and it's just it just really feels like there's almost no need for Bushman to be there. This issue really just boils down to the big revelation. They bring everyone around. The truce there with his awesome power, and in the end, it just boils down to Bushman sort of finding the kid, and it just kind of just wanted it to be the truth as well, and we wouldn't have that sort of clashing of voices. It feels very much like almost they've just sort of split the one character into having the Sun King and Bushman for this arc, and it just it just didn't really make Bushman that appealing a character here.
No, I think also as well, just chatting with the Wayno, who's in our group as well, and the host of Courtside Podcast, another little shout out. But Wayno was saying as well that he felt that this issue felt very much like like a Spider-Man comic again. That's such a change in tone, and not what he was expecting from a Moon Knight comic. And I can kind of see that in Bushman, like when he's kind of almost a caricature of himself, or just a parody basically of himself. And what I wanted to also mention, Connor, as well, is that, so you mentioned, and this one I didn't make sense on the second reading. So when they're addressing the crowd of people that have been done bad by Moon Knight, Bushman says, I've got a little card up my sleeve that will really hurt Mark where where he'll hurt the most, and when I first read it, when I read it again, I thought, okay, so he's referring to he knows about Mark's daughter, right? Is it that's what you're thinking as well, Connor?
Yeah. No, I think
No?
he's just
Okay.
referring to Marlene, actually.
Okay, well that makes sense.
He seems
Yeah,
just as shocked as the Sun King is when he finds out about
their
daughter.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's where I was going to, because he does seem shocked when he sees the picture frame. So, okay, so it's more like Marlene that he knows, because he can't possibly know. Well, he can't possibly know about Marlene's affair with Jake Lockley as well. So it must be just Marlene, which is a pretty pissy ace up his sleeve. He's tangled with Marlene before, so. Why all of a sudden is she the golden goose that will break Mark Spector? I mean, it's, yeah. So I found that a little problematic. Maybe I'm misreading that, Loonies. Please write in if I've thought incorrectly. Any other notes there, Connor, for yourself?
Just flicking through the issue.
I thought the humour.
Really, I think
I thought humour was pretty. I like the touch with the dog and the little lady in the park and Mark screaming. I like those little touches of humour. I think they're pretty cool. When Mark's meditating and he's shouting at himself. Yeah, I think that was pretty funny.
That's definitely just a point I want to reinforce. I really like. Once again, Bemis's ideas, Bemis's comedy, but it just sort of whiplashed with the story as well.
Yeah,
two great things that don't possibly fit together.
It's almost as if not sure what sort of book or what sort of issue this is meant to be. Like, is it meant to be funny?
Totally.
Yeah, is it like,
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah, because the first two, I think were quite well defined. Like, we knew what it was. Issue 2 had Issue 189 had a bit of humour in there as well, but I think that was fine. You know how we said the truth hurts? That was such a bad joke, but it seemed to work. But yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, you're right, Connor. It just, the whiplash of it was pretty bad.
So yeah, I guess that leaves us to the Crescent Art ratings.
Yeah. Okay. Well. So, having said all that, and and I want to stress as well that Connor and my opinions are very much of our own as well. And if you enjoy this issue, then that's fantastic. The great thing about comics in general is you can take what you like from it. But yeah, this issue just wasn't really for me. The only thing I guess that I'm really excited about is. Two things. One is Marlene, the return of Marlene, because I really do like her as a character, so it's good to see her back. But actually, I'm quite intrigued and curious about Mark's daughter now. Everything else with Marlene having an affair with Jake Lockley and the lineage and all that, I really, I'm pretty. It didn't really rate as high. So I'd give it a 2.5 Crescent Darts out of 5. I think right smack bang in the middle. How about yourself, Connor?
Yeah, that's totally fair. I think I think you just captured it so well when you spoke about this book, like not really knowing what it wants to be and the clashing of Bemis's two sides, when I think the most disappointing part of it was just how much clarity and focus there were in those previous two issues. Like, I still think 188 is just this masterpiece of the first issue. It's like really grounded, contained, story, and then issue 189 was a perfect reintroduction, and it just feels it's sort of, now that they've got the introductions out of the way for the Sun King and Moon Knight, Bemis doesn't quite know he does know what to do with it, but I suppose he just doesn't know which way to take it. Yeah. And we sort of see all this crazy stuff coming up, and I think I'm definitely intrigued, but this issue is just definitely sort of changed expectations in a way of will this be a series that becomes my Moon Knight again after this issue, and like you said, this is just the first half of a story in the next issue where I'll read, I'll see the next issue and be like, oh, of course, all those points in this issue were like